Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the Wheel of Time so far and my journey so far with the Wheel of Time. That blue jay is being extremely loud. I don't know if y'all can hear that. But my journey with the Wheel of Time so far. So I have read up to this point. I've actually finished through book 8, but I'm not going to talk about book 8. I'm just going to talk about the halfway point because I meant to film this video before I finished book 8, but I just could not put book 8 down. So this video will include no spoilers. I don't really want to talk about spoilers within this, so I'll try to not talk about them at all, or what I think are not spoilers. So I won't be going in depth about any of the books, obviously, because there's just a lot, and we're going to talk about that. It's 1 through 7, which is The Eye of the World, The Great Hunt, The Dragon Reborn, The Shadow Rising, Fires of Heaven, Lord of Chaos, and A Crown of Swords. Now, I made a ginormous mistake when I first started reading this series, and it's something I wish I could remedy now, but I'm too far into it to remedy it now, and that was taking notes, or maybe doing summary videos of each of the books for myself. Now I have to go back and watch other people's summary videos of the books because, and I have to pretty much do it for every book that I jump back into because I'm like, okay, what was important, what did I need to know, and then I instantly watch a summary video of the book I just read because I'm like, what did I miss from these books? It's because there's so much information in here, guys, and it's not, I know everybody complains that Robert Jordan is too descriptive, there's too much skirt smoothing or whatever, and I really don't see it as it being that noticeable. It really has not bothered me at all because, and I know people don't like the descriptions of the clothing as a big part of it, but I think the descriptions of the clothing is extremely, extremely important to the development of culture within this world, and the culture building in this is just amazing. I honestly have never read anything quite like this that has the amount of culture building that this book has. It's truly, truly amazing. So let's dive in a little bit to what exactly the Wheel of Time is, and I'm gonna fix this angle a little bit. That's a little bit better. It just looked odd. Okay, so we start off as most fantasies do. We start off in the little farm town with the people who don't know much about the big wide world around them, and they're just living their best life and doing their jolly japesing around. Pretty much is how we start this series. And people are very, very correct. The first book, The Eye of the World, is extremely a lot like Lord of the Rings. So, this town that I'm talking about, we're talking about Hobbiton, basically. So, it was just kind of disturbing. In the first book, I didn't think I was gonna like this series. Honestly, from the first book, I was just like, I don't want just another medieval fantasy romp of the Chosen One and bringing down the destruction of the Dark Lord. That is what this is, but it's not what this is, if you know what I'm saying. Robert Jordan totally flips the normal narrative of the Chosen One and taking down the Dark Lord and flips it on its fucking head. He does this so well, and I am surprised when things happen and they don't happen how the trope says it's supposed to, and he does it a totally different way, and I so much enjoy that. And if you're worried about the Wheel of Time just feeling like another Lord of the Rings or feeling like just any other fantasy story you've read, it's not. The first book is. The first book feels that way, and it is bothersome, but trust me, once you get past that, we go off on a totally different direction that you aren't expecting. There obviously is some of the same tropes, obviously, but to me, Robert Jordan flips them and makes them better. makes them not feel like that trope is happening so much. I believe the first 3 books, I know the first 3 books, but I believe that Robert Jordan, when he was writing the first 3 books, wasn't sure if the publishing company was going to give him this 14-book series, was going to allow that to happen. So within the first 3 books, he was just basically trying to do a trilogy because he didn't know if he was going to get the opportunity to have a 14-book series. Thank God he did, because it's amazing. Like, after the first 3 books, it really pops off, I'm gonna say. Like, the first 3 books are very formulaic of each other. They are very, very similar. In every single one, we have the gang all together, and then we get split up in some sort of freaking way. So we get split up pretty much into 2 or 3 groups every time. We go off on our own little adventures, and then we get all back together and we fight the bad guy. It's very formulaic, and I was very worried. I was like, I really hope this is not how every book in this series is, because I didn't like that, and it was very formulaic and kind of annoying, and by the time I got to the 3rd book and it was still doing that, I was just not having a good time. Granted, the 3rd book does switch it up a little bit, because in the 3rd book, The Dragon Reborn, you get almost no perspective from Rand, which was very interesting, and definitely a choice to be made, considering the book is called The Dragon Reborn, and The Dragon Reborn is almost not in the book at all. But once you hit that 4th book, you see, oh no, we are stopping that formula, we are doing something really crazy and really different. The Shadow Rising is probably my 3rd favorite book so far. Yeah, it has to be my 3rd favorite book so far. Lord of Chaos is the best one I have read. It does a really good job of making everything in that book important, and Lord of Chaos was the best book I've read so far. Sadly, the book after that, A Crown of Swords, was just boring, and I did not like that one, and it was like, oh shit, is this the beginning of the slog? But book 8, fucking great. It's the 2nd favorite book right now. So let's talk about, that was a little bit about the book. Like I said, I don't really want to get too in depth with this. There's too much, and honestly, I have a hard time remembering everything. I do have to constantly, like I said, watch the summary videos, or I have to talk to my friend who's read this book series several times, and I have to ask him what's important, like, what am I missing? And then he tells me, and then sometimes he accidentally tells me spoilers, and I'm just like, damn it! So that is a problem, but he hasn't told me super big spoilers yet, so hopefully he won't continue to do that. It's just, these books definitely do start to blend together in your mind, because the flow is so well. It's so well done. So let's talk about our main characters. Now, I'm not talking about every single one that gets a POV perspective. I basically, in my, July wrap-up? Maybe? I talked about my hatred for Elaine and how much I just really don't like her as a character. She just gets, oh man, she gets under my skin. So she's my least favorite character, and that's pretty much all I have to say about her. So basically the main characters I'm going to talk about are the ones we meet in the first book. The ones that we get perspectives from in the first book, because there is about, I believe, 3,000 named characters throughout this series. So we can't talk about every single one, and we can't talk about everybody that gets a point of view because it's too much. So I'll just talk about a few of them. My favorite character so far throughout this series has to be Rand. Rand, okay, if you're about to read, I've already said it, but I'm pretty sure it's not a secret, and it wasn't a surprise to me to find out that Rand was the Dragon Reborn. I think that's pretty obvious from the first book. He is our chosen one. So I love Rand's character, and I love where he's going. He's turning from this meek farm boy into this badass character who I love him. I love the fact that he's like, bitch, I am the Dragon Reborn and everyone will fear me. And I love it so much that he's like that. And I enjoy him being that way, even though sometimes he can be like an asshole, but I appreciate that he's like that. I love him as a character because he's an asshole sometimes. And I just think that makes him such a better character. Matt, I did not like Matt for a long time in this series, a very long time. And through some stuff that I will not talk about because it is spoilers, but through some stuff, Matt has become a better character. I do not get annoyed with him as much anymore. So just so you know, he does get better. I know everybody hates Matt at the beginning, and pretty much all I've heard is that Matt becomes everybody's favorite character, but I really don't think Rand is gonna stop being my favorite character. Unless he just totally takes a left turn and goes back to the meek little farm boy, which I really hope he doesn't. But so Matt does get better, and his abilities that he gets and he has, I really like them. I think they're very unique and something that I have not seen before, I don't think, in a fantasy series. So I find Matt's abilities and how he got them to be quite interesting and different, and I wanted to cry for him in A Crown of Swords, because what he had to go through in that book is what made that book the worst book for me. Like, but Matt, he turns around and he becomes a really great character. Perrin, on the other hand, Perrin, my sweet summer child. Once he finds his love interest, he gets on my damn nerves. His like fawning over her and just constantly wanting to protect her. I do not like his love interest. She is just awful. Like she's much like Elaine in her attitude, that I just do not like it. It is just not a good time, and it's not a good hangout. And once Perrin finds her, he becomes my least favorite character. He has to be. Egwene is growing in such a massive way, and I'm loving her character growth. I'm loving where she's going, and I think she's gonna end up being someone super obvious. Oh, I'm not even gonna say it because that would be considered spoilers, but she is on a projection that I am loving. Not really liking the love story that's happening with her because ew, like why? And I will say this, I do get very annoyed with Robert Jordan pairing everybody up, and one, because he doesn't do a good job of doing this. People just fall in love, and I just don't like that. I don't think he does a very good job at doing that, and I don't think everybody in your story needs to be in love with someone. Like, it's just annoying. And I really wish Egwene was not falling in love with who she's falling in love with, and I just wish it would just stop. I wish it would just fucking stop. So, anyways, I love where Egwene's going. Nynaeve, she, her attitude is a problem for me. I like the way she is. I like that she's stubborn and strong-headed, but man, that makes her make dumbass decisions sometimes, and I just want to go through the book and just yell at her, like, Nynaeve, just slap her across the face, be like, stop acting like this. You're making stupid decisions because you won't listen to anybody because you're stubborn as shit, and you just want to continue to be the, oh, dang it. I forgot what she was called in Edmund's Field, but she just wants to be that motherly person to everybody, but sometimes you gotta let people do their thing and stop trying to be controlling. But I do like Nynaeve. I think she is a strong character. It's just sometimes I'm just like, Nynaeve, stop it. Moraine. She is my second favorite character. I love her mystery behind her. I love her loyalty. I love her. She's a very strong character to me, and like I really enjoy Moraine, and I really like where yeah. Like, she's definitely the Gandalf that needs to be there for Rand, and I've enjoyed her throughout this series so far. And her warder, Lan. Okay, Lan is like a mannequin that just gets brought around with everybody and barely says anything, and I forget Lan is there. Tom is the same way. I forget Tom is there until they say something, and I'm like, oh shit, where did you come from? Why are you just now here? Like, I forgot you were even in the story. So Lan and Tom are kind of just kind of characters to me. Loyal is this in the same boat. I don't really care about them. They don't have a lot going on, and I forget about them. I forget they're there. And like the weird thing going on between Tom and Elaine, I have to say, it feels very incestuous, and it makes me uncomfortable. And I'm glad, I'll be glad if that ever stops, and I'll be so happy. It's so uncomfortable sometimes. But pretty much overall, I have to say so far the first 7 books so far have made this whole series a 4-star series for me. I love where this is going. I highly suggest, if you've ever thought about reading The Wheel of Time, to just go ahead and do it. I know, it's a 14-book series. It's a lot going on, but it's worth it, and like, I can't wait to reread it. Like, I want to reread it already, and I haven't even finished the series, and I just think that speaks highly for this series. And if you want to read The Wheel of Time, read The Wheel of Time. It's fantastic. Sorry, this video was like super chatty and like way all over the place, but that's pretty much what I wanted this to be, just a, hey, let's talk about The Wheel of Time, and we're doing it. And I can't wait for this show to come out for it. I am so nervous for this show because I don't see how the hell they're gonna put everything in there. Because they're not. They're gonna have to cut a lot of stuff, and I'm just like, oh geez, and like making this accessible to people who aren't going to read it and have never read the series. You're gonna have to cut a lot of stuff, and you're gonna have to handhold people and walk them through what the hell is going on. So I'm excited for the TV series. I'm loving this series in general. Pick up The Wheel of Time, read it, it's fantastic. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Remember to like and subscribe, and have a wonderful day, guys. Bye.